Hello everybody, Venom here, and welcome to this wonderful episode of reacting to some Undertale videos. Now, I finished the game last episode, so I thought it would have been cool to, give it the Halo treatment a bit, as I do with Halo games that I've completed, and react to some videos about the game, because Undertale was amazing. Ever since I finished it, I feel empty a bit. Like, I missed Undertale. It was such an amazing game, so special. I'm gonna see if I do it or not. I don't want to promise anything, but I might have an idea about a video that I want to make about it. Something other than just reacting to some videos or playing the game. I'm gonna see. I'm probably gonna test out tomorrow. Starting to write a script for that video, maybe stuff like that. I don't know. We'll see. Get hyped, but not too much in case I just don't do it because I don't have the time, which is basically the case for any, type of videos that I wanted to make on the channel that is not a Let's Play. But we will see. Alright guys, so today we're going to react. To how Undertale was made and why its success scared the creator, which sounds amazing. The video has a lot of views, but as I like to tell you guys every time I react to some content on YouTube, please click in the description down below. You will find the link to this video. Please watch it. Give him a like, give him a sub. We want to support the other creators on this platform. The guy has probably made quite a good video because it has a lot of views. God damn, that is impressive. So yeah, guys, without any further ado, we're gonna just go ahead and we're gonna start this video. All right, let's go. I'm excited. I want to know more about the game. Developer's story of defying conventional RPGs.
You kill a lot of random monsters, sometimes even humans, in every RPG.
Yeah.
And the consequences for this are never addressed.
True.
What if they were? This is the question that sparked the idea for the indie game Undertale, an RPG made by Toby Fox, who did all the writing,
that's what he looks like,
music, and some of the art for the game. The rest of the artwork is done by one of his friends Tammy Chang, and a few other artists that are credited on the Kickstarter campaign for Undertale. Toby deliberately wanted to keep the team as small as possible, as he believes the bigger a development team gets, the more diluted the game becomes.
That is true. That is true. Definitely. I myself worked on games with huge teams, and the thing is, game devs are creative, right? We all want to put our ideas in the game, and lo and behold, sometimes they do clash, right? That's why you have game directors and creative directors, is to make sure that the vision and the overall structure of the game, everything is coherent and drives in the same way, But sometimes, even with those people, some games that are so big, you get some, not random things, but you get some different opinions sometimes, and things are done differently. But I do agree, if you have a small team and you can create your game with talented people, a smaller team, you will probably get closer to the original vision that you had, because there's a lot less people to put stuff that you don't agree with in the game,
One of Undertale's biggest influences goes back to when Toby was only 4 years old, which is when he started playing Earthbound on the Super Nintendo,
right.
And this early gaming experience had a lasting impression on him. I was so young that it helped me learn to read, and also transformed my brain forever.
That is interesting. I never played Earthbound myself. I can definitely see the influences of it on Undertale, though, from the little that I've seen of screenshots and stuff like that. So that makes a lot of sense. Also, it's pretty cool that he mentions that Toby learned to read with that, because I've been playing video games since I'm a little child, right? And obviously I'm French, so I didn't speak English when I was younger. So I definitely learn English, with a dictionary. I remember playing episode 1 of Star Wars, the game from the movie. And there is one mission in it where you need to go around Tatooine and interact with people to buy parts for your ship. And that was the hardest mission of the game for me, because I did not know what to do. So what I did one day, I just sat there and I read the dialogue with a dictionary, English to French, and I just figured it out, guys. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
7 years later, Toby discovered the Earthbound fan site Starman.net, and now he finally had a place to talk and connect with other Earthbound fans. A few of his friends from the fan site now run the Fangamer website, which sells Toby's Undertale merchandise.
That's nice.
In the year 2000,
Wait, there's
Toby
Undertale
and his
merchandise?
three brothers started playing around with the RPG Maker 2000.
Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, look at that. Oh, I want a shirt. Oh, Mercy and Fight pins. Oh, the human shirt. Oh. Annoying dog sucks. Oh my god, guys. All right, all right, I'm gonna stop looking at that because I'm getting sidetracked. But I'm gonna buy some shit after this episode, boys. I have a feeling.
Tool to make role-playing games. He said they barely finished any of them, and none of them were ever released on the internet. When he was in high school, Toby created quite a few Earthbound ROM hacks as well, and the most notable one is the Halloween hack that he released in 2008 on the Starman website. Besides keeping his love for Earthbound alive during high school, Toby also started playing the piano and trumpet, which in turn sparked his love for composing music. Fast forward to his time.
Right, that makes sense that he's a composer because, man, the music in Undertale is amazing. Like, I've been listening to the soundtrack of the game ever since I finished the fight against, I'm blanking out, Azrael, right? That's still my favorite track in the whole game, by the way, Hopes and Dreams. God damn, and the guitar, it's so 80s, it's so like... Feels good, man, feels good.
In college, where Toby started putting together the building blocks for his first real video game project. He initially didn't start with a concrete idea for either the story or gameplay, and the first piece of inspiration actually came from Wikipedia. One day, I randomly read about arrays, and realized I could program a text system using them. So, I decided to make a battle system using that text system, which in turn gave me many ideas for a game. Then, I decided to make a demo of that game, to see if people liked it, and if it was humanly possible to create. This combat system was also further inspired by Shin Megami Tensei, where the player can talk to demon enemies in order to recruit them.
Yeah?
It always interested me that you could talk to monsters to avoid conflicts, but the conversations were often kind of repetitive, and if you screwed them up, fighting became your only option.
Right, I've never played a Shin Megami Tensei game myself, but I have a good friend who played them, and yeah, that was definitely something that he told me that was interesting, like the ability to talk to them. I was like, oh, how does that work? Interesting.
I wanted to create a system that satisfied my urge for talking to monsters. Toby felt that it was important to make every monster feel like an individual. He further said that basically all monsters in RPGs like Final Fantasy are the same, besides the actual designs of the enemies.
True.
They attack you, you heal,
Yeah?
you attack them, they die. There's no meaning to that. Toby's experimental text-based combat system was made in GameMaker 8, and the developer would use an upgraded version of this engine called GameMaker Studio, and later GameMaker Studio 2, for the rest of Undertale's development. However, Toby also used GameMaker 8 to create a demo for Undertale. As for Undertale's core concept, Toby wanted to make an RPG, but he wanted it to be different from all the games he grew up with. I wanted to make an RPG game where you could befriend all of the bosses, where not killing everything is actually a viable option.
That is very
If you
neat.
think about it, most RPGs are endless murder fests. How many monsters do you kill, and to what end? Everything sort of naturally arose from that concept.
That makes a lot of sense, right? Like, and usually that's how games find their true meaning, like one core idea around which you shape everything. In that case, it makes sense that befriending people and not fighting was actually the core concept, right? Because that's probably how he got the idea for the Genocide run too, right? What happens if you just play the game as a normal RPG? Well, you're a madman. You're a genocidal fool. You know, you're crazy. So that he probably came up with the concept of Genocide Run after, in contrast to the cool idea that not killing anybody was, you know? Huh.
Now that he had settled on an engine and had a core concept for the game, it was time to start sketching characters and craft a story.
Oh, that's so cool.
During this part of the development process, his love for the Earthbound series definitely had an influence on some of the characters and the writing. I can definitely say that I wanted to make something that had as much emotional power, humor, and wonder as the Mother games, while not necessarily taking the same paths to achieve it. Also, the main character is a kid wearing a striped shirt. That's probably too obvious. Although Toby looked at the Mother series as a main source of inspiration, Undertale ended up becoming something very different compared to most RPGs, and that was no accident. Toby wanted to challenge conventional RPG mechanics and tropes, and fully embrace the video game medium. He said he's very tired of traditional JRPGs, and wanted to see one that's not boring to play. One that has interesting characters and utilizes the medium as a storytelling device as much as possible, instead of having the story and gameplay abstractions be completely separate. An example of this is the character Toriel, who serves as a sort of guide for the player during the first moments of the game.
That is interesting, and before proceeding, I want to mention that I was a huge fan of JRPGs as a teenager, young adult. However, I'm not gonna lie, it's been a couple of years since I haven't played one. No, that's not true. The last one that I played was actually Dragon Quest XI. Fantastic game, by the way. But it is true that like a lot of JRPGs are boring to me a bit now, and it's not just because of the combat system and everything, but I've played so many of them and they have the same structure. So when you play something like Undertale that breaks a lot of those conventions, that feels so fresh. So that's really interesting.
Make no mistake though, Toby deliberately depicted Toriel as an overprotective mother to poke fun at the Toriel levels found in many modern games. However, Toby also gave Toriel a more important role, since he feels that mother characters in games have seen a decline. There really aren't enough mother characters in RPG games. In Pokemon, Mother, Mother 2, there's this trope of having mothers be there only to say goodbye to their 10-year-old kid as they go out into the world. They're basically just symbols rather than characters. Even Mother 3's mother character, Hinawa, doesn't really show up very much in the scheme of things. So here is Toriel, a mom that hopefully acts like a mom. She won't let you explore a dangerous world by yourself, because she genuinely cares about your well-being. As previously mentioned, most of the art was done by Toby and Tammy Chang. While Toby had final say over all the artwork, Tammy is credited as the logo designer, cutscene artist, overworld artist, animator, shop artist, and tile artist. Furthermore, she's also responsible for the conception of a couple of the characters: Lux, Vegetoid, Papyrus, Lesser Dog, Greater Dog, Undone, and Aaron.
Nice.
Both developers have visual representations of themselves in the game, with the annoying dog representing Toby, and a monster called Tammy representing Tammy Chang.
Oh yeah, of course.
All the art was done in Microsoft Paint and graphics scale.
Oh my god.
The retro pixel art made it easier for Toby to contribute his own designs, but that's not the only reason pixel art was used. Even if I had a team of 100 artists, I probably wouldn't want it to look any different. Visual gags usually benefit from funny expressive drawings. One of the creepier characters, Flowey, has a voice line in the game.
That's a wonderful idea!
This voice clip actually comes from a McDonald's commercial that was made in the 60s. Ronald McDonald can be heard saying the line to a group of children.
Oh, what a beautiful day for fun! What would you like to do? Party! That's a wonderful idea!
Obviously, Toby adjusted the clip to make it sound more disturbing. When it came to the storytelling and writing,
he makes a good point about the art style, you know, like, because Undertale has a very specific look. And I guess if you were to analyze the game's assets one by one, you wouldn't call them necessarily like that pretty. I mean, it's not bad looking, but there is a coherence in the whole package that gives it its form, you know, like, I don't know, like, it has such a unique visual look, and I'm a huge fan when game does that. If you have a strong, unique artistic direction, I'm gonna be on board right off the bat. And Undertale certainly doesn't look bad, and it looks unique, which is super important.
Toby once again drew inspiration from the unsettling world of Earthbound, as well as more silly things like internet culture and funny shows like Mr. Bean. The idea of being trapped in an underground world was partially influenced by the game Brandish. The developers struggled with the parts of writing that aren't text, But once he had established the character's voice and mood, writing scenes became easier. As stated earlier, Toby already made a combat system of sorts before anything else, but it would take up a lot more time to polish and refine his unique take on turn-based battles. While expanding this battle system, Toby took inspiration from the Mario and Luigi RPG games and bullet hell shooters like Toho Project.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
It might seem strange at first to combine a turn-based combat system with real-time shooter elements, but Toby explained that he wanted to do something different than he was already familiar with.
Yeah, and when you think about that, like, that trope of mixing two game styles together is really not that weird when you think about it, right? If you think of gaming in the past decades, right? Usually, like, that's how new genres are made and are popularized, right? Open world games at first weren't also RPGs, but when you started to have like these huge Western RPGs like, you know, Skyrim, Fallout, Oblivion, and that stuff, like that is a match made in heaven right there. I mean, it's my favorite type of games, right? So there's definitely something to mixing genres together, because usually you can, you know, pick kind of like the best of both worlds and create a unique package with it.
Also said that bullets offer more variety and movement than simple button presses.
Yep.
Even though the combat is inspired by the bullet hell genre, Toby didn't want it to become as difficult as those games. So that
he didn't! What the hell is the last boss fight in the genocide run then?
that more people would be willing to play and enjoy Undertale. He managed to accomplish this
that is
by
true,
using
though.
fewer and larger projectiles, and he would keep iterating on his bullet patterns until Toby thought they were tough but fair.
Yeah.
Furthermore, he let some of his friends, who did not have much or any experience with bullet hell shooters, test out the combat, and saw that they were able to complete it without too much effort.
Yep, playtesting. Playtesting is super important when you create a game, because no matter what you think about your design and everything, if other players that aren't familiar with your designs or your intrinsic knowledge of the project, if they cannot complete it, you gotta go back to the drawing board, man.
All of this combined convinced Toby that the game's difficulty was just right. During development, it was very important to him to make a game that he would personally enjoy playing, and not necessarily create something with mainstream appeal. That's why there's no fetch quests or backtracking present in Undertale, for example, since Toby personally dislikes those tropes in video games. A trope that Toby is a fan of is the silent protagonist trope. The character doesn't say very much, because then you can identify with them better. Most of the game's narration is in the second person. The more details and personality I add to you, then the harder it is to get absorbed into the role.
That makes a lot of sense, right? That's why silent protagonists are a thing in gaming in general. And if you take the example of like just the Fallout series, right? If you compared Fallout 4 to the other games in the series, what is Fallout 4 regarded as in the roleplay department? It's regarded as being very poor, because they wrote a character that you then assume the position of, instead of like in the other Fallout games in which you really can choose anything and you don't necessarily have such a set background, you know? So yes, that makes a lot of sense.
Players in Undertale have the choice to either spare or kill the monsters they encounter, and this mechanic was established before Toby wrote any of the story. While the solo developer wanted to keep Undertale fairly easy to complete, he did make a conscious decision to make it harder to befriend enemies and bosses than to slay them in battle. In games, I noticed that the good path was sometimes the easiest one, but if you do things without effort, then it doesn't feel meaningful.
Oh yeah, that's
true. Being a
true.
musician, Toby didn't have to think twice about composing the soundtrack for Undertale himself. He even went so far as to give all the main characters their own theme song. Most of these theme songs were created specifically for each character, except for the ones for the brothers Sans and Papyrus. Sans' theme song Megalovania was composed by Toby back in 2008 for the aforementioned Halloween Earthbound ROM hack.
Oh wow.
Papyrus' theme song Bone Trousel was actually composed for another game that Toby had worked on, but that game never saw a release. The entire Undertale soundtrack was made in FL Studio. According to Toby, he was able to compose most of the tracks without much iteration, except for the game's main theme, which went through multiple iterations. When working on the soundtrack, Toby said that he tried to be inspired by all the music he listens to, but he was particularly inspired by the music from SNES role-playing games. Additionally, a webcomic called Homestuck, which Toby had produced music for, also influenced Undertale's music. The developer created the music before he would start programming, as it would help him decide how a scene should unfold. The official soundtrack would be released by video game music label Materia Collective on the same day as the game's release.
Oh, I know Materia Collective, alright, because I've got a few copyright strikes from them myself.
In June 2013, Toby launched a Kickstarter campaign for Undertale in the hopes to receive some funding to finish his vision for the unconventional RPG. The funding goal was set to a very reasonable sum of $5,000, and by the end of the campaign, Toby received more than 10 times the amount he had initially asked for.
Awesome.
In addition to promising an RPG where no one has to get hurt, Toby also provided a demo on the Kickstarter page that anyone could download and try. Several of the available Kickstarter tiers provided a way for backers to create their own characters and enemies that would be added to the game. Toby decided to buy 3 of these designs, and they became Glide, Muffet, and So Sorry. Some people on the internet had suggested that Undertale was supposed to be a very short indie game, but Toby said otherwise. I was just unsure if it was humanly possible to create it before making the demo. The reason it was bigger than expected is because my expectations of the areas, battles and so on increased a lot after making the demo.
Yeah.
The Kickstarter page also provided an estimated release date of summer 2014, but Toby had to eventually delay the game to September 15th, 2015, when it was released for Microsoft Windows and macOS. When people got their hands on Undertale, they became fascinated with its characters and the many secrets it holds.
Of course.
Not to mention the meta nature of the game, which added a whole other level to the many discussions people were having on the internet. People desperately wanted to talk about this strange new RPG and how their experience differentiated from others. Because of this, the game quickly achieved a sort of cult status among gamers. Add a lot of very positive reviews to the mix, and you have a recipe for a successful indie game story. Before the end of 2015, Undertale managed to sell over 500,000 copies on Steam,
Wow.
and not long after, in February 2016, the game had sold over 1 million copies.
Very nice.
After the initial release, Toby kept working on the game and released an update in January 2016, which fixed several bugs and helped make the game more playable for color.
Patch color of blue attacks will be changed to a more visible to colorblind. Oh, right, that makes sense.
For blind people by changing the appearance of blue attacks to a darker hue. During E3 2017, Sony had the honor of announcing that Undertale would not only be receiving a port on PS4 and PS Vita, but also a Japanese localization, plus a retail version provided by Fangamer. They sold both a standard and collector's edition, and are still available to buy today.
Are they still available to buy today? I'm gonna be broke after this video, guys. Oh, that looks good though. What's in it? PS4 game, illustrated booklet, soundtrack, musical locket. Ooh, art-shaped locket. Ooh.
During a Nintendo Direct in March 2018,
Yeah,
the
damn.
Nintendo Switch version was announced, although no further details were given at the time. Prior to its reveal, it was impossible for developers to directly export games made in GameMaker Studio to the Switch. However, shortly after the Nintendo Direct, it was revealed that a deal was struck between Nintendo and software development company Yo-Yo Games that would make it possible to export GameMaker Studio games directly to the Nintendo Switch.
Nice.
Undertale on the Switch was eventually released on September 15, 2018 in Japan, and worldwide on September 18, 2018. All the console ports were developed and published by Japanese localizer 8-4. Many critics praised the game for its innovative mechanics and progressive thinking, while also complimenting its unique characters and clever writing. As a result, Undertale appeared on several end-of-the-year lists in 2015, and even came out on top as Game of the Year for PC from news outlets and critics such as IGN, Zero Punctuation, and Jim Sterling. Total Biscuit even gave Undertale the #1 spot in his top 10 games of 2015 video. The game was also nominated for a bunch of awards, and was able to snatch up a few, like the most fulfilling crowdfunded game award handed out by the South by Southwest Gaming Awards event in 2016.
The game really deserves it, so I'm happy it won a lot of prizes.
Was undeniable at this point, but Toby had mixed feelings about all the attention his game was receiving. Not only did I not expect this level of popularity, but initially I was afraid of it. I didn't want Undertale to become tiring for people, or become spoiled before anyone even got a chance to play it. Early on, this was probably excessive. I even tried to contact certain Let's Players to tell them not to make any content about it.
Oh.
Like a thunderclap to a small dog, all of this attention stressed me out. At times, I wished I had a way to quell the attention. I felt a strange powerlessness and guilt for feeling stressed when the success of the game should be something I'm nothing but ecstatic about. He further said that ultimately he's very thankful that the game became as popular as it did, since it helped him on a personal level and put him in a position to help other people as well. Toby personally attributes Undertale's success to the many risks it took, and how different it is compared to more conventional RPGs.
True.
It takes influence from many strange sources. The graphics look bad in places, the gameplay is very simple. Most of all, the game's humor and surprise is derived from the fact that it defies the expected conventions of normal RPGs.
Yeah, that's a thing, right? The success of Undertale makes sense to me now that I've played it, because there is nothing else like it, right? You cannot be like, oh, I want to play an Undertale type game. Well, you're gonna play Undertale or Deltarune. I haven't seen anything about Deltarune yet. I will end up playing it on the channel for sure, because Undertale is quickly becoming one of my favorite games of all time, by the way. So I want to delve into Deltarune for sure. But I don't know what it is necessarily. I haven't looked anything about it, so I'm pretty excited about that.
That's the most interesting part to me, that even without understanding of the genre's conventions, the game still resonates with people, kids included. That's very cool.
Yep, very
Luckily
cool.
for Undertale fans, all the attention hasn't stopped Toby from continuing his career as a game developer. On October 31st.
Yeah, I really don't want to hear anything about Deltarune, so I'm gonna skip ahead. Okay, so yeah, you know what? It seems like to be talking about Deltarune for the remainder of the video. So you know what? I'm gonna end things here. Yeah, very interesting, guys. Undertale is such a unique game, and it was very fun for me to go ahead and take a look at some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. I love behind-the-scenes stuff. I love, like, picking devs' brains a bit on how they created that, you know, because it's fun. As a fellow game dev myself, it's just fun to see how somebody got an idea to make such a good game as Undertale, right? Yeah, guys, hey, I hope you liked my commentary on that behind-the-scenes video. Please don't forget to click the link down in the description down below. Give that guy Glenn a sub, a like on his video, all that good stuff. Give him a view, you know. We had a lot of fun watching his content. Now we must support him just a bit, you know? All right, guys, and don't forget also to support me. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon for all that good shit. The YouTube algorithm will like it, and it will, you know, promote my content to more people in the future. But on that note, guys, have a good one.